Perhaps nothing in this world is as beautiful and as complex as a woman's soul. She can be as gentle as a stream, yet as powerful as a wave. She can smile through tears, love through pain, and stay silent even when her heart is breaking. A woman is not weak. She simply lives more by feeling than by logic. And it is precisely that which makes her unpredictable, difficult to understand, yet one of the most extraordinary wonders ever created by nature. Have you ever tried to truly understand a woman? Tried to read what hides behind her eyes? To decipher the real meaning behind words like, "I'm fine," or "it's nothing"? And then you realize the more you try to understand, the more confused you become. That's just how women are. They don't live by logic, they live by emotion. They feel the world with their hearts long before reason has a chance to analyze it. And sometimes even they don't fully understand themselves. Stoicism, the philosophy of awareness, has a very distinct way of seeing this. It doesn't ask, why are women like that? But rather, why did we fail to see it sooner? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You cannot change others, but you can change the way you look at them." When we look at women with curiosity and judgment, we find them confusing. But when we look with observation and respect, we find depth. Because women don't demand to be understood, they simply wish to be heard sincerely, without interruption, without explanation. In truth, if you look long enough, you'll see that a woman's psychology isn't a mystery, it's a delicate map of emotions. Every gesture, every glance, every silence carries a message within it. All it takes is stillness for a man to read that language, a language without words, yet one that, when understood, reveals what true connection really means. And that's why, in this video, we'll explore the hidden secrets within the female mind through the lens of psychology and Stoic philosophy. The first psychological secret that Stoicism reminds us of is this: woman, the most beautiful mystery of nature. Women were not created to be easily understood. They were born to make life more refined, deeper, and more meaningful. If man is the straight line of reason, then woman is the circle of emotion where nothing has a clear beginning or end, but moves in cycles of love, worry, pain, and desire. And it is this very uncertainty that creates the wonder no one can ever fully explain. There's one thing men often forget. Women feel the world with their hearts long before they think with their minds. They can sense when something shifts, even when no one says a word. They can recognize sadness in your eyes, distance in your voice, or coldness in your touch. It's not magic, it's sensitivity, shaped by thousands of years of evolution, where the instinct to survive and the need to connect have merged into one. Women don't need to be loved through perfection, they simply need to be seen. Seen when they're not trying, heard when they're not speaking, and understood even when they can't put their feelings into words. For them, love doesn't live in grand gestures, but in the small, genuine moments: a caring glance, a gentle touch on the hand, or an ordinary word spoken with true presence. Psychology shows that women feel happiness not when they are given material things, but when they are emotionally connected. This explains why many women can stay with a man who isn't rich or handsome, but makes them feel they can be themselves. For women, emotion is the true home, a place where they feel safe to express, to be vulnerable, and to love without having to defend themselves. Yet the very thing that makes women beautiful is also what makes them vulnerable. When they love with their whole soul. When they trust completely. And when they're hurt, the wound doesn't stay on the surface, it settles deep within memory. A careless word, an absent-minded action. Things that seem small can make them retreat for good. They don't lash out, they don't seek revenge. They simply grow silent. But that silence is the first sign that their trust has begun to break. A mature man isn't the one who understands every woman. He's the one who respects what he cannot understand. Because women don't need someone to decode them. They just need to be listened to with a heart free of judgment. When a man learns that, he doesn't just understand women, he understands the true nature of love itself. Love is not about conquest, but companionship. The next psychological secret is this: when emotion and biology control love. For women, love isn't just a feeling, It's a complex biological process that nature has been programming for thousands of years. When they fall in love, their body, mind, and emotions move together in a delicate dance. Nothing is random. Nothing is simply like or dislike. Every glance, every heartbeat, every touch is guided by hundreds of invisible biological reactions unfolding within them. Psychologists often say that to understand women, you must first understand their hormones. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is the key that unlocks the deepest part of a woman's psychology. When she's hugged, when she laughs, when she feels safe beside a man, oxytocin is released. It makes her trust more, bond more deeply, and remember longer. For women, intimacy isn't just physical, it's a ritual of connection. For men, however, it's often an act of release. That's why after intimacy, women usually want to talk, to cuddle, to keep the emotional bond alive, while men tend to fall into silence. Two different worlds beginning in the same moment, but moving in opposite directions? That doesn't mean women are weaker, it means they are deeper. They don't love with the body alone, but with the mind that lies behind it. They feel connection through presence, a hand held, a silent gaze, or simply the sense of someone being there. These seemingly small moments can change their physiology. The heartbeat slows, the breath steadies, and a sense of peace emerges. Science calls it a hormonal response, but Stoic philosophy calls it harmony between the mind and nature. Stoicism teaches that nothing in nature is without purpose. Even desire is part of the order of the universe. The problem with humans is that they forget instinct is a tool, not the driver. When desire takes control, love loses its essence. But when we understand instinct and observe it with awareness, we begin to love with reason rather than be carried away by emotion. In her deepest instinct, a woman does not seek pleasure alone. She seeks meaningful connection. That's why when a man makes her feel valued, she bonds with him not only through her heart, but through her very biology. Men often fail to understand this. They think women are too sensitive or hard to figure out, when in truth, women are simply living in alignment with their natural design. They don't seek absolute strength, they seek emotional stability. They are drawn not to the man with muscles, but to the one whose calm energy makes them feel safe. Because in the essence of love, the more still the man is, the more the woman blossoms. Stoic philosophy views love not as intoxication, but as a lesson in self-awareness. When a man understands the emotional nature of a woman, he learns something greater. Love is the art of observation and patience. We cannot make someone love us, but we can create the conditions for love to grow through stillness, genuine care, and the ability to be fully present in the moment. Women are the living proof of that truth. They show that love, though it may begin with hormones, must still be guided by reason. And when reason and emotion merge into one, that is the state of mature love where no one possesses the other, but two people simply coexist, feel together, and grow together in awareness. The unspoken language of women is another psychological secret every man should know. Women are emotional beings, and their emotions are often not expressed through words. While men rely on direct language, women communicate through their eyes, their silences, and the smallest gestures that often go unnoticed by those who lack sensitivity. She may say, "I'm fine," yet her shoulders tense slightly. She may smile, yet her eyes drift far away. Between her words and her emotions lies a silent space, and within that space hides what is most real. These things are subtle and often hard to notice because women rarely express emotions directly. They leave space for you to read between the lines, not just the words. This ambiguity is the test, not to check how clever you are, but whether you're truly paying attention. What moves a woman isn't appearance or poetic words, but the full presence of someone who listens, observes, and feels without needing constant clarification. Studies show that women are nearly 10 times better than men at reading emotions through facial expressions. But what's often overlooked is that women also want to be understood in return. They want a man who knows that when they fall silent, they need comfort. When they're angry, they're hurt. And when they say, "Don't worry," they want more care. This isn't a game, it's how women love. They don't want to explain, they want to be felt. Women aren't looking for someone who instantly understands them. They want someone willing to understand. Sometimes all it takes is a person who can look deeply into them without rushing to judge. In a noisy world, the man who knows how to stay quiet and observe is the one who makes a woman feel safest. When she feels safe, she returns to her truest self, gentle, compassionate, and sincere. True love doesn't need many words. It lives in the way two people look at each other, in the shared silence, in the things left unsaid yet deeply understood. Women don't expect anyone to read every thought. They simply want to be seen with unhurried eyes. Stoicism teaches us that understanding isn't about analysis, but awareness. When you're truly present, you realize that women aren't hard to understand. They just live on a frequency the impatient can't hear. The fourth secret is that women love through their fear of loneliness. If you ask what a woman's greatest fear is, the answer isn't betrayal, but loneliness. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being alone, but the feeling of being left behind even when someone is still beside her. It is an emptiness that many men never notice, because a woman's loneliness is never loud. It's quiet, like a shadow hiding in the middle of what seems to be a complete life. At her deepest core, a woman is not afraid of being alone, but of being in a relationship where she must silence who she truly is. She fears staying quiet when hurt, appearing strong when exhausted, or smiling while her heart breaks. For her, love is not just presence, but feeling heard and understood. When that disappears, she stays, hopes, and tries. But when loneliness becomes a habit, she no longer needs anyone. Loneliness doesn't arrive suddenly. It seeps in through small things. When she shares a story and gets only a nod, when she's tired and no one asks why, when she longs for a hug but ends up holding herself. Loneliness begins not when someone leaves, but when they stay yet stop being present. What hurts most isn't losing someone, but losing the feeling of being seen. Stoic philosophy views loneliness differently as a teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The person who cannot be alone is the one who has not yet found themselves." When a woman learns this, she stops fearing loneliness. She understands that love is about sharing, not being filled. If we cannot live fully on our own, we cannot fully live with anyone else. Most women are not taught this truth. Society glorifies the self-sacrificing woman, leading many to believe their worth lies in being needed. They love out of fear of emptiness, not for companionship. And love born from fear always carries anxiety, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. But love was meant to make us free, not bound. Loneliness isn't bad. It becomes frightening only when we don't understand it. A woman who befriends her loneliness becomes stronger. When she no longer fears being alone, she loves because she wants to, not because she needs to. While women may love from fear of loneliness, awakened women love from wholeness. And when they reach that state, love is no longer something to seek, but something to share. The fifth secret is pleasure, the mirror of the soul. In the human experience, no emotion is as instinctive yet as complex as pleasure. It is a gift from nature meant to sustain life. But at the same time, it is one of the harshest tests of self-mastery. For women, pleasure is not merely a biological reaction, but a spiritual journey, a place where the mind, body, and emotions merge into one. Many think a woman's desire is simple, but it's a refined language of the soul. Her body responds not just to stimulation, but to emotion. When she feels valued, trusted, and safe, her body opens like a flower. That's why gentleness, respect, and presence can be more alluring than any words. In that moment, pleasure becomes a connection between two souls, rising above pure instinct. Psychology sees a woman's pleasure as the union of physiology and consciousness. It's not about speed or technique, but true connection. A man who rushes sees only the body. One who listens and feels each breath sees the soul behind it. Women sense this deeply. They know when they are loved, not just touched. Their pleasure reflects the man's attitude. Stoicism doesn't view desire as evil, but as something that can become dangerous if allowed to take control. Emotions don't need suppression, only clear observation. When we see our desires without being ruled by them, we practice self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius said, "No desire is stronger than the will to be free." True freedom comes when we're no longer bound by our emotions. Women instinctively understand this. Pleasure is temporary, but connection lasts. A man may move them for a night, but only the one who brings peace stays in their heart. The calmer a man is, the more attractive he becomes. Women are drawn to those with nothing to prove, whose self-control creates a safe, peaceful energy. Safety is the foundation of true pleasure. Women don't need a perfect man, but someone who respects their body and soul as sacred. When that happens, pleasure becomes a ritual, an act of reverence, not possession. A woman's body responds not just to touch, but to the energy behind it. A touch filled with understanding and respect can move her more deeply than any technique. Another psychological secret is that women don't beautify themselves for men. Women have a special relationship with beauty. From the way they choose a dress, apply lipstick, tie their hair, or wear tiny earrings. Every detail carries a silent story, but what many people don't understand is that women don't adorn themselves to impress men. They do it to reclaim a sense of ownership over their own being. Society often assumes that women beautify themselves to attract others. In truth, women do it to feel stronger in a world where they are easily hurt. When they choose red lipstick, it's not to seduce, but to face the day with a touch of courage. When they put on a beautiful dress, it's not to be admired, but to remind themselves that they can still shine no matter how difficult yesterday was. In reality, a woman is most beautiful, not when she tries to be perfect, but when she feels confident in her imperfections. True beauty doesn't come from makeup, but from a serene gaze and a calm stride. When a woman knows who she is and what she wants, she doesn't need anyone's validation. That confidence radiates naturally, like sunlight asking no permission, yet impossible to ignore. Stoicism teaches people to live with moderation, to accept nature, and to free themselves from the gaze of others. The same applies to women. When they stop comparing themselves to external standards, they begin to live more authentically. There is no ideal more noble than becoming a peaceful version of oneself. Women don't need to be alike to be beautiful. They only need the courage to be themselves in the way they smile, speak, walk, and love. In the end, beauty is a journey of return to one's essence, one's values, and one's self-respect. A woman may not fit society's definition of beauty, but if she knows how to cherish herself, those around her will feel that energy. True beauty does not lie in appearance, but in the quiet power of self-possession. Finally, to understand women is to understand yourself. There is a truth many men never realize. Women are not only to be loved, but are mirrors reflecting a man's soul. In the way a man treats a woman, one can see his level of maturity, not through his words, but through his patience, his ability to listen, and his presence. Because to truly understand a woman, a man must first understand himself. Women are the embodiment of emotion, the very thing men often hide. They are gentle where men are rigid, calm where men are restless, and they cry for the things men are too afraid to cry for. When a man stops judging those emotions, he begins to understand the part of himself he once tried to deny. Within every man exists a touch of femininity, not weakness, but the ability to feel, to love, and to listen. When he learns to respect that part of himself, he no longer sees women as something to conquer, but as something to understand. Stoicism teaches that every relationship in life is a mirror meant to reflect us back to ourselves. The quick-tempered meet the gentle to learn restraint. The logical meet the emotional to learn empathy. The fearful meet the steadfast to learn courage. And men meet women, not only to love them, but to learn how to be human. Because women teach men lessons no book ever could. Lessons in patience, in listening, and in loving without possession. In all their complexity, women are in fact teaching men the art of balance. They are living proof that a person can be both strong and gentle, both deep and simple, capable of loving wholeheartedly while still preserving self-respect. That is exactly what Stoic philosophy strives for. To live within emotion without being ruled by it, to love fully without losing reason. To understand women, therefore, is not to decode them. They are not puzzles to be solved, but lessons to be experienced. Every woman who passes through our lives, even just once, leaves behind a fragment of a mirror, reflecting the part of us that still needs healing. Some teach us how to love, some teach us how to lose, some teach us patience, and some teach us how to let go. When we are awake enough to see this, every relationship becomes an opportunity for growth. After all, women remain one of the most beautiful mysteries life has given to humanity. Not because they are hard to understand, but because they live with a depth that words can never fully reach. They are where emotion is born, where intuition resides, living proof that the heart can see what the mind never can. And if a man is willing to listen slowly and observe closely, he will realize that what a woman needs most is not someone perfect, but someone who can be truly present with his whole heart. Understanding women is not about memorizing rules or mastering techniques. It is about learning empathy. It is knowing when to stay silent, when to speak, when to hold a hand, and when to let go. It is learning to observe without control, to listen without judgment, and to love without possession. When you can do that, you don't just understand a woman, you understand the very nature of love itself. Stoicism does not teach us how to make others love us. It teaches us how to keep our hearts steady in the face of what we cannot control, including love. When we truly grasp that, we stop worrying about who will come or go, who will love or leave. We simply focus on becoming someone worthy of love through calmness, understanding, and gratitude. If you find these ideas worth reflecting on, share your thoughts below. What do you think is the most mysterious aspect of the female mind? And if you believe that love is not a game of emotions, but a journey of awareness, hit like, subscribe, and join me as we continue to explore deeper lessons about love, strength, and self-mastery through the lens of Stoic philosophy.